Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duckbricks. I'm Chris and welcome to a top 10 LEGO video. Today we'll be taking a look at LEGO Bionicle, checking out the top 10 rarest promotional and non-retail release Bionicle masks. These are masks that never appeared in any official Bionicle sets, be they misprints or one-off promotional releases, and we'll be taking a look at the top 10 based on their current value and basically the price that you need to pay to acquire one of these masks. Now, this is a little bit of a trickier video than our last video, which was focused on the rarest standard retail Bionicle masks, mostly because some of the masks on this list have either never been sold or only sold once at a fixed point in time, and likely will not ever be sold again. So there's a lot of variability here. I'm going to do my best to sum up the average value of each mask and present them to you in this top 10 list, but do keep in mind that things could change in the future. Should, say, for example, someone decide to sell one of these masks for a much higher price in the future after I record this video, then maybe they'll bump it up a few slots on this list. But as of this recording, this is the most accurate listing of the top 10 rarest, non-retail, special misprint or promotional Bionicle masks. And let's kick things off with number 10.
Alright, so before we start off this list, I do want to preface this by saying a few things. There are, first of all, a lot of really strange and odd different prototypes or promotional Bionicle masks and pieces that are kind of just floating out there that unfortunately did not make this list because simply there's no record of them having ever been sold. Stuff like, for example, for Bionicle G2, they casted a lot of the Bionicle G2 masks in solid gold. To my knowledge, there are no public records of any of these being sold, so while they probably would be valued for thousands of dollars, I'd expect somewhere in the ballpark of $3,000 to $5,000 because they are one of a kind, we don't really know how much they would be worth because, for one, we don't even know where some of them are. We don't know who owns them or if they've just been kind of sent out or thrown out. Nobody really knows where some of these are, and for the rest of them, we may know who owns them, but we don't know how much they were sold for if they were ever sold. So that's why stuff like that is not on the list. There's also a lot of incredibly rare prototype pieces, which I'm sure that if they were to be sold, they would be sold for a lot of money, but again, we don't really know or have any ballpark range of pricing for them, so they've been left off. Really, for everything on this list, I'm basically kind of just having to go off of exactly what has been sold in the past. And again, I do actually want to preface this by also saying that the mask market and the Bionicle collectible market is not what it was not what it is today. The value of pretty much everything Bionicle related has really shot up in value, especially over the last recent years. For instance, masks have almost doubled or tripled in price compared to now versus say 2019 or 2018, and so a lot of these old sold listings, which are when they were sold years and years ago to hardcore collectors, simply are probably not too accurate because they probably would be sold for a lot more today. But with that, without further ado, let's just jump right into things. We're starting off with a few of the masks that I actually do own myself. The first category of promotional / miscolored or misprint masks fall into a special batch of masks that in certain regions of Europe were sold for the wrong colors in 2001. Specifically, the Matatus and Rurus were molded in the standard Bionicle Toamata colors, aka the standard red, blue, black, white, whatnot, instead of being molded in the different Turaga colors. And that's what makes these masks so special, is that officially they were not actually supposed to come in these colors, hence qualifying them for this list of not maybe necessarily being misprints, but maybe mismolds or accidentally having them be a different color. First off, for number 10, we have the Black Matatu. This was the mask worn by Turaga Nuju, but never actually appeared in black in any official Bionicle mask pack or set. It averages for around $96 used, and currently you cannot purchase this from the US. Also kind of lumped in with number 10 is another very similar mask on this list. Because they have incredibly similar bricklink prices, I decided to just group both of these together. This is the green color of the Matatu. The average price is $97, so just $1 more than the black one, but in the US, the cheapest way you can get this mask is by spending $200 US, so that is pretty significant. And again, it's really interesting seeing these types of masks being recolored in strange colors because, of course, one of the best aspects of Bionicle collecting and one that makes collectors really excited is when masks get recolored, which is why these are so special because it's just very useful to have these in different colors for MUCs. Moving onwards to number 9, we have another strange recolor. So the story behind this mask is, for whatever reason, the Kanohi Kal, aka the mask of water breathing for Toagali, was molded in transparent yellow. it seems like quite a few of them were made, and they aren't really even misprints because of just how many of them actually exist. You can even see a promotional display which features the transparent yellow Kal as well as many of the other misprints or miscolors on this list, and for whatever reason for the final mask packs, they decided to not have it cast in transparent yellow, and instead had it cast in transparent orange. If I had to guess just by looking at this picture alone, I would probably assume that originally the transparent yellow version of the Kal was intended for Pohatu until the designers felt like it probably looked a little bit strange having the yellow mask on Pohatu and changed it late in the production process to transparent neon orange, which is what we eventually got for Pohatu, which also doesn't necessarily really fit his brown color scheme that well, but was probably the best they could do given the colors available at the time. The average price for this transparent yellow Kal on Bricklink is $228 and you currently cannot buy it from North America. Moving onwards to number 8, we have another recolor of the Kal. This time it is in transparent light blue. Now this, I feel like, is a very similar case to the previous one. As you can see on this image of the promotional early display at Legoland Windsor for Bionicle masks, they actually feature the light blue version of the Kal very intentionally. Again, if I had to guess, this was probably intended to be worn by Toa Kopaka, until they swapped it out for just plain transparent clear to differentiate it more from the standard darker transparent blue version, which is just made for Gali's normal mask. Again, there's a pretty significant difference between this and the normal Kal, but if you were to just pick this up, it isn't immediately apparent, so that's why I can imagine they swapped it out. That being said, this is for whatever reason a lot more rare than the transparent yellow version, averaging at $314 with a $400 US listing being the cheapest way you can get this in the United States. But with that, we can now move on to number 7. We have a bit of a different category. You see, to promote the Borak and Borak Kal, LEGO decided to cast certain Krana in different types of metals, from white metal to vacuum metal to gray plastic. Now the reason why I've kind of grouped these all into their own category is because, well, for one, there's a lot of them. Nobody wants to see a top 10 list where all 10 of the entries are basically just different versions of Krana, but also because the price ranges for this particular range, being white metal, vacuum metal, and gray plastic, are typically around the same range, coming in at around $400 to $500 which again, adjusted for Bionicle's current mask market, would probably be a lot more expensive today. These masks are special because only 5,000 of the white metal ones were made. They were randomly packaged with different Borak Kal sets in 2003, so you basically just had to get lucky and find it in a Borak Kal set. There also exists the vacuum metal versions, which were originally supposed to be packaged with the Borak Kal sets in 2003, but were eventually replaced with the white metal versions and the sterling silver versions. For whatever reason, I guess they just probably weren't ready or LEGO wasn't able to reliably make them. So instead, they were distributed a little bit more exclusively throughout the 2003 Bionicle Van Tour, as well as members of a prototype squad which was made up of Bionicle fans in early years of Bionicle. They're fairly hard to find, but they do show up for sale once in a while and again fall within the same price range. Moving onwards, the gray plastic Krana Kals were prototypes for all of the different metal ones and were only given out to members of the so-called Bionicle prototype squad back in the day. As such, they're a lot harder to find than most of the other Krana Kal on this list, and that's why they're valued a little bit higher, although they still fall within the $400 to $500 price range, which is why I wanted to include it. Moving onwards though, we can now take a look at number 6. We have a few more recolors of the standard Turaga masks. This time recolors that actually are officially more like prototypes, of which very few exist. These are the white Huna, brown Komau, and the yellow Huna, which are worth hundreds of dollars if not thousands. In fact, at a certain time I did have an opportunity to purchase one of the brown Komaus, but I felt like it wasn't really complete just having the one brown Komau without the rest, so I did pass up on it. At the time it was offered to me, it was being offered for close to $1,000 US, so maybe it deserves to be a little bit higher on this list, but there are some previous sold listings that say they were sold for quote-unquote close to hundreds, if not close to 1,000, which is why they are upwards higher on this list. It's really interesting seeing these Turaga masks being recolored in different standard colors, very similarly to the Matatu and Ryu, except this time these never actually were included in mask packs. Allegedly, they were included in LEGO variety packs, specifically in the Netherlands. A few of these are known to exist and occasionally crop up in sales across Europe, but they're very rare, and officially these are basically just prototypes. In fact, the white Huna was once sold for almost $3,000, although it is noted that this is an unreasonably high price for the mask, and typically you would probably expect it to be sold for a few $100s, if not $1,000. And so we can now move on to our number 5 listing. This returns to the Krana Kals, and this time we're going to be taking a look at the sterling silver Krana Kal as well as the Zamac Metal Krana Kal. So the story behind these is that only 100 sterling silver Krana Kals were made. 72 of them were randomly packaged with Bionicle, and the rest were given out to LEGO employees. And they basically were distributed in a very similar fashion to the previous Krana Kal on this list, except this time these ones were a lot more limited. Again, since these are so rare and probably almost never found for sale, only around 3 to 4 people in the Bionicle community actually are known to own them, they are worth over $1,000 if not far more. In fact, the Zamac Metal Krana Kal is worth probably even more than that, because it is a prototype for the Metal Krana Kal made from a much darker metal, many of which are owned by Bionicle Universe, who is a very prolific Bionicle collector who collects all sorts of different prototypes and honestly probably owns almost everything on this list. Very impressive, would recommend you check him out, linked in the description below. But with that, we can jump forward several years to Bionicle Generation 2. In 2015, LEGO released a few promotional masks, and that's where we have our number 4 listing. First off is the Skull Scorpio mask. This was an exclusive transparent neon green version of the Skull Scorpio and Basher mask from the San Diego Comic-Con 2015 event. Since it was only released during that event, the price has pretty much skyrocketed since then. When it first came out, the price was actually not too bad, somewhere around $30 to $40. However, since now over 6 years have passed since the event, the average price for the last 6 months goes in at around $303, with the average new listing for the piece right now coming in at $467. So this is hands down one of the rarest masks, very similar to the San Diego Comic-Con minifigures, but this time it was a Bionicle exclusive. A very similar case goes for the 2014 New York Comic-Con exclusive. When Bionicle was first announced to be returning in New York Comic-Con, they released an exclusive transparent clear Tahu Mask of Fire. This again followed a very similar price trajectory. Originally being available for around $30 to $40 on Bricklink, it now has skyrocketed to around $450, placing it firmly on one of the highest spots on this list. Both of these masks are pretty interesting to get, albeit not necessarily relevant to the story in any way, but definitely very good for mocks, and it's really interesting seeing how much these have appreciated over the years, especially because there are quite a few of them out there thanks to several different BZ Power promotional giveaways and different contest awards given out with these masks. But with that, we can now move on to our number 3 pick, which also is from Bionicle Generation 2. The LEGO Inside Tour exclusive Toa Gali mask from Bionicle G2, the Mask of Water, molded in transparent blue. Now this mask is really interesting because back in 2015, LEGO was doing transparent versions or elemental versions of each of the G2 masks. We got a transparent orange Mask of Fire in a just promotional pack that was a free gift for LEGO, so that one's really common. We got the rest of the transparent masks of Ice, Stone, Jungle, and Earth in some of the other Bionicle sets for the Skull villains later that year, but notably absent was the Mask of Water, until it turned up as an Inside Tour only gift for attendees of the Inside Tour. Now for those of you who don't know, you basically have to apply to attend the LEGO Inside Tour in Billund, Denmark, where you get an inside look at LEGO's inner workings. At the LEGO Vault, you get to meet some of the prominent members of the LEGO business and also get access to the employee store. And at the end of the whole tour, you get a very special gift. One of the gifts included was this special Gali mask. And that's why it is so special. In fact, the cheapest listing on Bricklink right now is over $2,000. Although it was sold in the past for under $1,000, which was probably pretty low, I personally ended up paying somewhere in between these two listings, so I'm pretty happy with the price I was able to pay for this, although undoubtedly this is easily the rarest Bionicle mask I personally own, and likely will ever own unless I get really lucky and someone decides to sell one of the other ones on this list. And with that, we can move on to number 2. For number 2, we have the Solid Gold Kanohi, one of the most valuable Bionicle masks. Only 30 exist that were given to LEGO employees, as well as being available through various contests. This is a solid 14 karat gold mask. It had a velvet case and even a chain running through the holes in the top of the mask, so it could even be worn as a necklace. It is a really special find. Again, only 30 exist in the world, which is why it is worth thousands of dollars and approximately $5,000 the last time it was sold. But there is still one more mask that tops even the price of this one. So coming in at number 1 on the list, we have the incredibly valuable Platinum Evoke. This is one of a kind. It was a prize pack for the winner of the Search for the 7th Toa Sweepstakes contest, which was held on TV in 2003 to coincide with the Mask of Light movie. It's easily one of the most rarest LEGO pieces in general ever made, much less Bionicle, and possibly one of the most valuable. Since the mask is pure platinum, if you were to melt it down, the value by itself is already around $4,000, and that's just the melted down version of the mask itself. So after the contest, nobody really knew what happened to the mask. Until early 2014, it was purchased from that AFOL by the Mask Collector, another very prolific member of the Bionicle community, for $15,000 US. Although it doesn't appear that the Mask Collector is going to be selling this anytime soon, and honestly I don't blame him, because this is one of the rarest and most special Bionicle masks that exists in the world. It is so cool to see the Mask of Light being cast in a full metal platinum color, and this is just such an interesting piece of LEGO history, of LEGO trivia, and something that truly commemorates Bionicle as a whole.
Alright, and with that, we have summed up this video taking a look at the top 10 rarest and most expensive non-retail strange promotional or misprint Bionicle masks. Let me know down in the comments below, do you own any of these masks? If you do own one of the ones I didn't mention I own, let me know. Let's get in contact, because I am looking to expand my Bionicle mask collection. But all jokes aside, thank you so much for checking out this video. I hope you enjoyed this list, and I hope to see you again soon. Subscribe to Duckbricks for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. And bye-bye for now.